The box score, advanced stats from simple people. What's the deal with Justin Jefferson? Is he even a top 24 wide receiver rest of season? Well, of course he is, but is he a top 12 guy? What about Zay Flowers? What do you need to know about him? TreVeyon Henderson, is this the start of something big? Jerry Jeudy, is this the start of something big? And what do we make of that Chargers-Steelers game last night? The Chargers, I think they had a 3% blitz rate last night. 3%. And it worked pretty well in a 25-10 win. This is Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary. Adam Azer, Jacob Gibbs, Dan Schneier. What's up, guys? Dan Schneier, how was your weekend?
Well, it was great in the sense that I got in probably the last round of golf for New Jersey golfers. Saturday was unreal, out of nowhere, 60 degrees, sunny. I came in like winter gear, took off the winter hat, so it was great. Lost a match on 18. That part wasn't so great, but the rest of it was great. And then it got ruined because the Giants are the Giants, and all they want to do is make our lives miserable, Adam. So good, then bad.
Yeah, the Giants also lost the match on 18, which they've done 3 times this year. Jacob, were you bored during the Chiefs bye week? I hate the Giants bye week. I don't know how you feel.
It was nice. The Chiefs have been a little bit stressful this year. They're kind of all over the place. But, this is a super fun weekend of football, I thought.
It was, unless you needed to win matchups with Oronde Gadsden getting just 5 or 6 points, which he's done all year except for this week. And lost 3 matchups because of that. Then
3? Oh, no, that's terrible. All right, so Oronde Gadsden, by the way, has the knee injury, and we're waiting to see. He's going to have an MRI on his knee, which is never
Not
good.
A good sign. Yeah.
But we won't jump to any conclusions with Oronde Gadsden. Obviously, it could have a big impact on the Chargers passing game, but let's get into that game. Chargers 25, Pittsburgh 10. And Jacob, what stands out to you from a fantasy perspective?
Yeah, the Gadsden injury could be huge for sure. I feel like the biggest takeaway here was they really kind of forced things to Quentin Johnston in this game. So that could be huge because Dan and I have speculated a lot in Beyond the Box Score that the tackle problem for the Chargers could be like kind of a Quentin Johnston problem because he'd been used primarily as the X receiver to stretch the field, but he played more than the other receivers and also got 10 targets as they designed more stuff around the line of scrimmage. Of course, McConkey's the one who pops off. He's incredible. Another game where Keenan Allen's playing time was just down. He's pretty much only playing in 3 receiver sets. And so I think he'll have some good games, but they're getting Trey Harris, the rookie, involved. They really like him as a blocker. So the role has been reduced for the veteran, and that's probably what you can expect going forward. Another good Justin Herbert game. I've got some, it didn't end up being a huge fantasy game for him, but this is the absolute floor given the infrastructure of where he's at right now. So I've got some stats on him that we'll get into later with the quarterbacks.
I don't know. I am not so thrilled with this Justin Herbert development because, again, I mean, you see the result of not having his starting tackles. And season high, 64% of his throws were in under 2.5 seconds. That's the 3rd highest of any quarterback this week. His 3 games with his lowest percentage or highest percentage of throws in under 2.5 seconds are all games without Joe Alt. He had a 4.7 yard ADOT, second lowest of the season. I mean, that's ridiculous. He didn't throw a deep ball, really. He threw barely any. So I think when you look at here are the games that Joe Alt either left with an injury or missed the game. 6-point per passing touchdown leagues, 14.5 points at the Giants, 16.6 against Washington, 22.8 at Miami, 33.9 against the Colts, 31.7 at Tennessee. Alt played about half that game, and 16.7 last night. So we've got 2 great games, 1 good game, 3 bad games.
Yep.
This sample size. And other than that, when he has had Joe Alt, he's been pretty money, like a guaranteed great game, basically, unless he's at Denver. So with this quarterback landscape, I'm not so sure that he's top. I think he's in that mix of, 8 to 15. He could finish anywhere there, but I'm not sure we got a league-winning quarterback, in my opinion, in Herbert.
There were no intermediate shots and no deep shots, as you mentioned, Adam. it felt like everything was quick game, and that may be the case moving forward. But part of that is also how the Steelers play defense and what that forces you to do as an offense. I was looking ahead. There are some better days ahead. Raiders on the schedule, Cowboys on the schedule, Jaguars even to some extent.
Oh, no, not to some extent. The Jaguars are an amazing matchup. They are getting torched through the air, and that's next week. That's a great matchup, so that does help. You're right.
And then it's Raiders right after that. So there are good matchups ahead.
To me, it's game script, right? Like, it's almost only game script. They ran the ball 25 times. It beat the crap out of the Steelers, and their defense played really, really well, which hasn't always been the case. And it's like week 14 Philly, week 15 Kansas City, week 16 Dallas. Like, that's what I'm excited about for him, is like the potential to get into more back and forth games where they have to pass, which is what we've seen basically all year.
True.
Okay. I feel like there might be some games where we're going, well, this is what it looks like without his tackles. You know, he's under pressure all game. He really wasn't this game because he got the ball out so quick.
Because they just ran a quick game. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and with Quentin Johnston, 5 catches, 42 yards on 10 targets. Quentin Johnston had 6 targets in this game at or behind the line of scrimmage. I think he had 6 the entire season. Yeah, but going into the game, this was not Quentin Johnston. You guys are 100% right to think that this Joe Alt injury would hurt Quentin Johnston, because it has in the past. So they have this completely different role for him in this game, which didn't really work. I mean, it wasn't a good game, despite 10 targets, scored 9.2 PPR fantasy points. But at least he got targeted and first read targets and all that stuff. That's great design stuff for him. And then you also have the Gadsden injury. So if Gadsden misses time, then everything we're going to say today is probably irrelevant. But I think the Chargers have been and remain one of the toughest teams to project, because they just have a lot of mouths to feed. But if you get this scenario, guys, where it's like Keenan Allen's not really doing much, he's being phased out a little bit, Oronde Gadsden misses time, obviously everyone's starting McConkey. I think you might start seeing that Quentin Johnston start percentage go up. Yeah. What was it? It was last night, it was 72%, which is still pretty high, but could stay that or be even higher. I guess what I'm saying is it could be a good thing for him.
Okay. I just think this is the floor for Herbert as the last thing on him. Like, this is better than the worst game for Josh Allen, for Patrick Mahomes, for Jalen Hurts. This is his worst game all year. And before it got out of hand in the second half, they were leaning more on the pass. Yeah. So that 17 of 25 Vidal rush attempts came in the second half.
Sure. That's true. They got to a point, like, they were stalling out early in the game. They were trying to go under center, and they got to the point where they did go back into their pass first ways and before the end of the game, where they kind of took the air out of the ball, which is a good sign. I just am a little bit concerned how much of this quick game is sustainable.
I think my point was less about Herbert and more about the quarterback. Yeah. You have to be so good this year to stand out at the quarterback position.
It's true.
And without his tackles, with Gadsden maybe missing time, it might limit that ability for Herbert. He's going to have to keep running a lot. He's among the best rushing quarterbacks this year, but he's never done anything quite like that with his legs. But okay. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, Dan, just a terrible game. Like Aaron Rodgers said it, like, I had a bad game. I was bad. I have to be better.
I guess.
Tomlin said we were bad. We'll be back. I thought it was interesting that a 3% blitz rate might have been one blitz, one or two blitzes all game.
That's what Minter does. Yeah.
Guys they weren't open, you know? Like, so what do you think?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I think Aaron Rodgers is being a little hard on himself personally. He missed the throw to Metcalf early. That's a difficult throw. He made some really, really good throws and high-level reads in this game. His receivers are just not on the same page with him, whether it's Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson, whoever it may be. You could just see the timing is way off. Aaron Rodgers is throwing to a spot where he expects them to be, and they're not there a lot. That's a really bad sign. But then also it's like, if you just do what the Chargers did, you mentioned it. They didn't blitz. They just played super, super, super gap sound in the run game. They just gapped out in the run game. You kind of could just beat this Arthur Smith offense, right? Just gap out in the run game, which is what they did. So Warren wasn't able to do much at all. That takes away all of what they've done offensively, which is basically use the run action game to create stuff in the play action game. And so now Rodgers has to be more of a drop back passer with receivers who he's not on the same page with, who are running routes to spots where he's not throwing the football to. And DK Metcalf, who Jacob and I have discussed a lot on our show, we're not huge believers in him as like a pure route winner or like somebody who Rodgers can rely on in the past, like he has with Devontae Adams and at times Garrett Wilson. He can make big plays. He's a crazy athlete, but there's just not many options if teams force the Steelers to be pass first and to operate in that way. And so we'll see what happens. Not every defense is going to be able to do what the Chargers did defensively in the run game, though.
Yeah, I mean, Chargers have a solid defense. Metcalf, I think, is
Underrated,
obviously a hot topic here. He's now, after having 3 of his last 4 games with 8 or fewer PPR fantasy points, just dreadful stuff. He's now number 33 per game in full PPR. And if you just look at his metrics, yards per target, yards per route run, yards per catch, this and that, that's not the problem. It's the targets. He's on pace for 104 targets. Let's whatever it is. It's the low 100s.
Yeah.
I think it's unbelievable. He just doesn't get it. He had 7 targets this game. That's jump for joy. He got to 7. Usually he's 5 or 6. So
they had to pass first for once. That's the thing. And they're not going to have to, they don't want to do that.
But here are the pass attempts for them the last 4 games. Last 5 games, 30, 34, 36, 35, 31. And he's been terrible in 3 of those games.
Yeah.
So it's more than that. His target share is not.
I don't mean like total volume, like that they entered the game 18th in pass attempts. I think I saw from Aaron Rodgers, which is mid pack or just under it. But a lot of these are off run action, and it's like to the tight end, or it's like a leak route to one of those 2 tight ends, or to the running back in the passing game. It's not like drop back, Metcalf's running an in breaker or a backside dig, and Rodgers is seeing it and throwing it. You just don't see a lot of traditional wins for Metcalf in the pass game.
All right. Well, they get Cincinnati next week, and I'd say, oh, that's great. That's awesome. Well, he struggled against Cincinnati.
Yeah, I don't know. Right. I don't count on him.
8 points against them. Rodgers had a good game, a huge game. Rodgers threw 4 touchdowns in this game. I think 3 in that game. I think 3 or all 4 of them maybe went to the tight ends.
Yep.
Any final thoughts on this one? Kamani Vidal?
Yeah, Vidal's a good runner. I don't know what's going to happen with the Hampton situation. Definitely somebody to keep stashing. And I think this game, it further solidifies the role for Warren is really good. He just needs the right game script, and he needs to face off and match up against the right defenses.
Okay. And there you go. Sunday night, really bad game. Great.
Really bad.
Yeah.
The 1:00 games are really fun.
Yeah.
Everything else was garbage. Like the Thursday.
The afternoons were horrible. The Thursday was horrible. And the Sunday was horrible. You're right. Tonight might be really good, though.
I hope so. I really hope so. Okay, Beyond the Box Score. This is not the only show this week, not the only episode. Jacob, what do we have to look forward to on Beyond the Box Score?
We're just doing the classics, like keeping you guys on track this week. Dan and I don't have anything huge planned, just like doing rest of season rankings, getting like, I don't want it to sound boring though. There is a bunch to talk about, right? Like there's a bunch of shifting running back rooms and all of that. So getting into some player profiles, getting into rest season rankings, some trade targets, just trying to get everything synced up here as we head into the end of the season. Make sure we're all on the same page.
I mean, listen, there's a reason they call me the plug god and Jacob the workhorse. Okay, listen, that was one of the worst plugs I've ever heard in the history of this show, but I still love Jacob and I get it. But let me just be clear. It's not just going to be playing the hits, which are also very good to play. And we've had some of our best shows while playing the hits. We're going to be delivering you some interesting notes. We have a show tomorrow that I'm excited about. 10 mind-blowing stats. The first 10 weeks of fantasy football just gives you a little perspective on 10 different players and how to move forward with those players. So we've got good stuff coming, but I know what Jacob was trying to say.
No,
there's a reason I am the plug god and he is.
We got a lot to talk about today, and I want to talk about it.
Okay, there we go.
Good stuff coming. Check out the show if you want to.
The plug god or the rundown killer. You make All right, when we come back, we'll get your news and notes for you. We have a season-ending injury you should know about. We'll be right back on FFT.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Quarterback news. Jackson Dart left with a concussion. They get the Packers in week 11. Running back, Chris Rodriguez, shoulder. Terrell Jennings left with an injury. Zonovan Knight, ankle injury. Wide receiver is probably the biggest one here is Garrett Wilson, re-injuring his knee. And we'll see what the future holds for Garrett Wilson. And Devontae Adams with an oblique injury. They sounded optimistic that he'll be able to play in a huge game against the Seahawks in week 11. Oronde Gadsden with the knee injury. He's going to have the MRI. And Dalton Kincaid left with a hamstring injury. So we did lose 2 must-start tight ends or close to must-start tight ends. That's a tough break. And we'll see how long those injuries are. Just seeing now that CJ Stroud remains in the concussion protocol. That's not a huge surprise, but hopefully he can get back for week 11. He unfortunately will not have his teammate MJ Stewart, a safety for the Texans. He's out for the season. Minnesota linebacker Jonathan Grenard left in the second half. Another cornerback for the Commanders got hurt. Steelers cornerback Darius Slay left with a concussion. They're going to need him against the Bengals next week. Las Vegas offensive lineman Jackson Powers Johnson's going on IR. He could be out for the season. They've struggled to run the ball. They can't afford that injury, and then unfortunately they're getting it. And that's those are the main defensive injuries. Before we get into the snap counts, let's talk about BetMGM. All right, it's time for football at BetMGM. Register with BetMGM to get instant access to the best variety of parlay selection features, no sweat and boost tokens, live betting options, and much more. New players can receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets with the bonus code FANTASY if they don't win their first bet. You don't want to miss out on any of the hard-hitting action at BetMGM. Place your money line, parlay bets, and more today. BetMGM, make it legendary. All right, Jacob, what jumps out at you as we look at the advanced metrics, the snap counts, those types of things?
Yeah, let me give you another quick Jackson Smith and Jigba rundown here. So the yard per route run rate just keeps going up. It's insane. 8.45 yards per route run in week 10. 8.
What the heck?
So that puts him at 4.67 on the year with a 6.53 rate in the 2 games following Seattle's bye week. For reference, the highest single season rate on True Media, which dates back to 2013, belongs to Tyreek Hill at 3.85. So JSN is at 4.67. There have only been 10 receiver seasons above 3 in the 12 years that I have that data. So like the Tyreek Hill season was something really special. There's only 2 seasons above 3.5. It's Tyreek Hill and then Puka Nacua last year, where he didn't even have a full season of data because I think he only played 12 games or whatever. So only 2 above 3.5, only 12 above 3 only 10 above 3 over the past 12 years. JSN is approaching 5 yards per route run. Really ridiculous stuff.
That is crazy.
I did want to talk a little bit more about Seattle's offense because we got Rashid Shaheed in. I was wondering if maybe we would see more 3 receiver sets, but there really was no change, no increase. 42% of their plays in the first half had 3 or more receivers on the field. Their season-long rate is 40%. That's the 3rd lowest. So I think basically, for now at least, it looks like Shaheed is just kind of in the Torrey Horton role. He rotated in a little bit more. It was an 85% route rate for JSN, 69% for Kupp, 62% for Shaheed. So a little bit more of the Kupp stuff went to Shaheed. In the first half, it was 80% for Kupp, 60% for Shaheed. Again, no Torrey Horton in this game.
Right. But just to draw a parallel, Jacoby Myers only had a 50% route participation rate. So Shaheed had a higher percentage than that. So you could just...
Shaheed's played in this offense, though.
All right, but it is his first game with the team. So I guess... All right, fair enough. Fair point.
I want to talk about the running backs because I know it was another frustrating week for Kenneth Walker, but some of the underlying stuff is continuing to build and work in his direction where maybe it could be a good second half of the season. I know it probably feels like I'm kind of obsessed with the Seattle team, but I mean, they are putting up ridiculous points, every week at this point. Yeah. If you want to learn more about this and why it's working so well and how defenses might adapt to it and how it could change, I'll point you in the direction of last week's Thursday episode on Beyond the Box Score. We talk about matchups and stuff at the end, but the beginning of the show, we got into the X's and O's of what Clint Kubiak is doing to dictate what defenses kind of feel like they have to do to try to defend him. And I think it's leading to defenses really playing against the run in a way that is opening up all this downfield stuff because they have so many big packages on the field with lots of tight ends, lots of fullbacks and running backs and stuff. So we're seeing these ridiculous JSN numbers, but I feel like at some point it has to shift. And that would then maybe open things up more for the running backs. So I continue to be interested in these 2 running backs. We did see, some red zone touchdowns in this game. And I think as things potentially shift over to the running backs, especially if one were to miss any time, that these guys could be really good for fantasy and they're free, right? Anybody who has Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet is so sick of it. So I think they're interesting guys to buy low on potentially. So the Kenneth Walker stats are 52% first half snap rate for Walker in this game compared to 42% for Charbonnet. And that we saw last week, it was the first time all year that Walker got more snaps. And it is worth noting that he was injured at the beginning of the year. So I feel like things are kind of shifting over to him more He did have a 50% first half red zone snap rate, had 2 carries, one of them from the 3-yard line, but it was Charbonnet, 29% red zone snap rate, and George Halani, who scored the red zone touchdown. So extremely frustrating stuff for Walker, but in terms of just like upside at running back, this is probably the cheapest exposure to upside that you're going to get. Really good player and a really good offense that nobody wants on their fantasy team.
Yeah. If one of them gets hurt, you are talking about the league winning potential.
And even if they do, if defenses play them different, I think Walker could just start ripping off explosive plays and he could score touchdowns. We saw 2 running back touchdowns in this game. Like the offense is playing so well.
Yeah. And, just to clarify, right? So it's 2 weeks in a row where he's gotten, I think, Ken Walker combined 3 carries from the 3-yard line, and he couldn't get in. When they get to the 1-yard line, that is Zach Charbonnet's territory, basically every time. If they're at the 2-yard line, I don't know what's going to happen. But Walker's gotten a few carries from the 3. He can't get in. Charbonnet will finish the job from the 1. I think there was a pass interference call after Walker's carry from the 3 to set up 1st and goal from the 1. And then Charbonnet was in for that. And then they had a false start penalty. And then I think Halani got the 6-yard touchdown run or something like that. I can't remember.
Yep.
All right. Anything else, Jacob? So that's Seattle. Oh, yeah. I was just looking at one of my leagues because I have JSN in 2 leagues. I only have him in 1 league where I can make a trade. The other is Scott Fishbowl, no trades. And I think I want to sell like mega high. And I was thinking, what would it take? Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm looking at the Justin Jefferson team because we're going to talk about him later. Jackson Smith and Jigba for Jefferson and what? What would the second piece have to be?
Why would you do that to yourself? It's disgusting.
Well,
What's the idea behind that?
Like this guy has Jefferson and Barkley. Is that a ridiculous trade?
No, but like, I don't think it's a good one. Honestly, like I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not sold. I want Jefferson on my team because then I have to start him every week.
I've no problem starting him every week. That's an overreaction, and I just think that as great as JSN is, this reminds me of when Aaron Judge was hitting 400. It's like, Aaron Judge is the best player.
I know. I like that you're trying to sell high on regression.
400,
But try to target players who you can count on rest of season. I don't know what makes you say that we can count on Justin Jefferson rest of season when I think Thomas put in the comments, JJ McCarthy can't even complete 50% of his passes.
First of all, I said Saquon Barkley was going to be in that trade too. I didn't
Jefferson was your key cog though. Like you started with Jefferson.
I think he's a good buy low. I do. Okay. I think he had the 3rd lowest yards per target of his career yesterday. He's never going to be this bad again, like this year anyway, in all likelihood.
I don't think he was very good with Carson Wentz though this year either.
He hasn't been that good. He only has 2 touchdowns.
Right.
But he's still really good. He's still Justin Jefferson. Like there's some regression coming for him, I think.
He's really good, but that doesn't necessarily matter for fantasy.
I think that regardless of his quarterback situation, I think he will get better. That's my point. Okay, fine. Now I have JSN. I'm looking at the Ibuka team.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Okay. I just don't think he has a second player that I like. He has a Jalen. Oh, he has Ken Walker, but no, it couldn't be Walker and Ibuka for JSN.
No. The Jefferson thing could work out. Like Jefferson has a 33% target share with JJ McCarthy, which I love. Like it could get better. But yeah, I would have a really hard time trading JSN unless it's something I feel really good about. Like just overwhelming value coming back to me with like one guy who feels really, really good. I guess Saquon is basically that. Unless I have to, unless I'm starting terrible players every week and I need these flex fill-ins, I'm not trading them.
Okay.
I kind of feel similar.
Anything else?
Yeah, I've got more snap rates and stuff. Is that where you want to stay there?
I have some stuff. Yeah, let's I'll go through it here. Dan Campbell took over as Detroit's play caller. I didn't really have time to dig into this. You guys have anything on that by any chance?
I'm going to later, but not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, they used Gibbs in the pass game in the red zone. I like that, but I have to look into that game as well more.
One of the things that really hurt the Vikings yesterday, they had 8 false starts. And they were kind of complaining about some of the stuff the Ravens were doing. Not saying it was illegal, but maybe like a little cheap getting them to jump. But you commit 8 false starts, you're putting your quarterback in
you're right.
Position. Jacoby Myers, 50% route participation rate. Shaheed, 62%. Bijan Robinson played 86% of the snaps. It just seems a little fluky that Algier had the big game. You want to compare Alec Pierce and Josh Downs? Josh Downs played half as many snaps as Alec Pierce. It's not even so atypical. That happens all
Pierce
the
is
time.
awesome.
If you can get Bijan plus for Jason, I would do that.
Okay, I'll
There
look
we
at
go.
that.
Now we're talking.
Tyrone Tracy played 2/3 of the snaps. Darius Slayton had a good game. He only played 62% of the snaps because of the hamstring injury. Colston Loveland, I was hoping for a little bit more of him and a little bit less of Kmet, but they were pretty even with their snaps and pretty even with their routes.
One thing I'll say, just from having watched that game live and then on the film, it felt like when they actually needed to get their pass game going, they did. Loveland was the key cog in their pass game in the second half. So if I'm a coach and I watch the tape back and I see that, I will look to get him more involved earlier moving forward. I hope that's the case. I don't know if it is. The one catch he made on 3rd and 10 was one of the best catches the entire week, Colson Loveland.
And also in that game, so DeAndre Swift ended up playing 62% of the snaps, Monangai 38. But I thought what was interesting was in the fourth quarter, it was pretty even in the first 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, when they made their comeback, Swift, maybe that's because they were throwing and, Swift played 14 snaps and Monangai played 4.
Yeah, that's going to happen. Whenever they're in comeback throw mode, 2-minute, 4-minute drill, that's going to be Swift.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much every game for them. Hopefully you guys can look into this. I'm thinking maybe the Texans, they may have gotten their rookie receivers a little more involved. Christian Kirk's snap rate was pretty low. I think it was under 50%. So that could be something that you guys will be on. And Aaron Jones played 71% of the snaps. TreVeyon Henderson, 84%. Mac Hollins, 79% with Booty out. Rashad White, 72%, but basically splitting the carries with Tucker, getting the passing downs work. Puka Nacua only played 51% of the snaps, which was a little low. I mean, even though they, were well ahead late in the game, it still struck me as low for Puka.
I would love to see his first half splits on that, just because the second half they were just up by so much.
I'll get that. Kamani Vidal played 93% of the snaps. While I look up the Rams route participation rate that's Jalen Ramsey, not the Rams, in week 10 in the first half. I can do it right now. First quarter, second quarter. Puka Nakua's route participation rate was 66%, 67%. So he was, I would say, not a full-time player in this game coming off the injury. He's still great. All right, Jacob, I'm out of stats.
I've got a few. So you mentioned the young guys did play a little bit more, and they got more targets for those receivers, Jalen Noel and Xavier, but mix them up, Jaden Higgins. Woody Marks played way more too, 78% snap rate, season high. This was his first start of the year. So good stuff there. He appeared to have a pretty bad injury at one point, but came back in and played. Had a good game. So that's all interesting. I don't think that Nick Chubb got hurt. Did anybody see anything on that? He barely played.
Yeah.
No, I saw him in the game late too. So I don't think it was that at all.
So they might just be moving to the young guys, which is interesting. Not snap rate related, but I just want to point out like how freaking good Devon Achane has been. Of course, he had a 40-point game. He had 9 avoided tackles, which now gives him 4 out of 10 games this year with 8 or more avoided tackles per PFF's charting. Compare that to years 1 and 2 when he only had 1 game with 8 or more avoided tackles out of 28 games. So we know the speed is there. We know the receiving is now there too. But like this, he's always had the vision and the speed to get these big plays, but now he's like stacking the ability to make people miss and get more consistent yardage over and over and over. And he's just so good. And for fantasy, he's a cheat code because of the receiving. So he has a 20% or higher target share in 7 out of 10 games this year. In his first 2 seasons, that was only 4 games out of 28. He has a 25% or higher target share in 50% of his games this year compared to 7% of his games in the first 2 years. So he's just leveled up, and like unreal. You never know how much you can trust Miami's offense, but like he's kind of on this CMC type of trajectory for fantasy. He does it in a little bit of a different way because of the big plays, but the fantasy outlook for him is just so good if this offense doesn't completely tank. And they just beat the Bills. They looked a lot better, so maybe you get lucky and we get this all year, because like if we do, it looks really good for him. It looks really good for Jalen Waddle as well, looking like a potential wide receiver 1 type of player for fantasy. My other 2 notes, you hit on Swift, but I just wanted to like drive home the point here, like how good it was. So 61% snap rate is his highest since week 4. He was the starter. He had a 71% snap rate when in the red zone, 13 carries for 80 yards, 57% route rate. That's good. 8 targets. So he was running back 4 this week in expected fantasy points per the fantasy points data model, behind only Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane, and Christian McCaffrey. This run game has worked really well all year. And Chicago, I know it was like a weird game where they ended up playing behind and stuff, but like I feel like there's enough underlying stuff that's been kind of coming together for this offense as the year goes on that like I have some hope that even though the schedule's kind of brutal down the stretch, that Swift might be able to still be pretty good for fantasy. So I just thought everything was really encouraging because I was curious if Monangai might have a larger role. But really, I mean, it was a 39% snap rate for him. He had 1 red zone attempt and happened to get in. But it was, Swift playing the bulk of the snaps in the red zone still and looking like the clear starter.
But I feel like I misinterpreted my own stat earlier about the 2 running backs, and Brian Daboll got fired, by the way.
Whoa, that just happened?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That's no big blue banter. Did you really just? Oh,
No.
you are unbelievable.
No, I didn't.
What do you expect? You just dropped that on him randomly.
Oh
Hey,
my.
by the way.
Yeah. Well, actually, they were saying it in the chat.
Whoops. That
yeah.
was surprising. I'm sorry, Adam.
It was not surprising at all.
I've had 1 total before this.
No. Oh, I thought you meant the Daboll firing. Daboll firing was not surprising.
No, that wasn't. For the Giants, it is, though. They don't often do these in-season firings. Wow.
I said it on the show yesterday. I mean, everyone seemed to be on the same page. He couldn't lose another game like that. Ridiculous. But anyway,
Wow.
they split the carries. They split the reps almost evenly the first 3 quarters. They were going drive by drive by drive. So I think if Swift had more work in the red zone, it was either his drive led him there, because Monangai had a touchdown early in the game, or it was just all in the 4th quarter when they were in comeback mode. So I don't know. I'm not going to say one way or the other. I guess I could see your optimism. I mean, he outplayed Monangai for sure. If people expected Monangai to just come in and take the job, and it's like, hey, Swift was playing really well before he missed that game with an injury. So it was looking like kind of a bad split, but then if they're trailing, it's going to be Swift. Okay.
He was playing pretty well, but Monangai was already like kind of taking the job. Like he wasn't taking it over entirely, but he was taking a lot. And then he had like the biggest game of any rookie all year, like almost 200 scrimmage yards and a big win, To me, it felt realistic that he could at least take a really meaningful role.
I think, I wasn't, I think he has. I think he has taken a meaningful role. I think it's still a little cloudy. I wouldn't buy into DeAndre Swift as a must-start running back on a week-to-week basis, I guess. Ooh, Dan Schneider, interim head coach.
Who is it?
You.
Oh, me? You're telling me there was an interim head coach name, too. I was about to, on air again. No, I'm kidding.
Daboll firing as expected, as better breathing while wearing a nose strip. So, yeah. That could have been worded better, but that's a funny joke. All right.
I stand by the nose strip. I golfed with a nose strip this weekend. Like a whole new man. Next year when we play tennis, Adam, I will be wearing that nose strip. I think it will lead to at least three more games for me.
Great. Yeah. Over 5 sets, maybe. So, no timetable for Bucky Irving. We're just seeing.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
And J.K. Dobbins, I didn't mention that injury. Someone yelled at me in the chat for it. You were right too, though. And J.K. Dobbins does have a foot injury, and we're still waiting to hear. I mean, it's been 4 days. I'm surprised we haven't heard anything.
We've heard plenty from him. He's like constantly venting on Twitter about the hip tackle needing to be banned. So hope he's doing all right.
Yeah. I think we'll take a break and get to our buy or sell portion on TreVeyon Henderson, Zay Flowers, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, Troy Franklin, and the quarterback position as a whole. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today.
You can't count on accurate expiration dates.
That is a rookie mistake.
Or the kindness of strangers. But thanks to CBS Sports, you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+.
By the way, Jacob, I didn't mean to step all over the Swift stuff. Do you think he's a must-start running back?
No.
Okay.
If it sounded defensive at all, it was just that I didn't want the Monangai thing to be downplayed. Like, I think it was realistic that he could have earned a leading role in the backfield, where Swift is more just like a specialized player. Like maybe he plays a little bit more in passing downs, and then he comes in for like outside zone type runs and stuff like that. but the bulk of the work goes to Monangai. And I do think it's meaningful that right away that was not the case. In fact, Swift did look like the lead back, got the start. Everything was arrow up for him, even if it was not to say that he's going to have 70% of the work going forward, like what you alluded to with the way that the drives play out. That's definitely something that happens week to week. It can be kind of random with these backs. Yeah. But like the fact that it did work out that way can only be good, I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. We're on the same page then. All right, let's do some buy or sell here. I want to thank our audience for your submissions here. This is from Yo Carson. Buy TreVeyon Henderson, sell Zay Flowers. Do you more or less agree with that sentiment, Dan? Buy TreVeyon Henderson, sell Zay Flowers?
I'm going to be the last on that bandwagon with Zay Flowers. I am not selling Zay Flowers by any means at this point. Why would you sell him at this point? So,
nice. Okay.
Believe in Zay Flowers. Believe in, look, the touchdowns haven't come for him yet. They came at the beginning of the season. We need some better game script, and we need them to get in situations where they need to throw the football more often, but he's been very good on his limited targets. So I'm still in on that. As far as TreVeyon Henderson goes, that's a tricky one for me. We broke down one of the plays together as a group, us three, before we started recording. And it was like, well, the second touchdown was, I don't want to say luck based, but like the Tampa Bay Bucks defensive back has contained on the outside. He's spilling everything back inside. So, Henderson kind of cuts it back inside for what should be a no-yard gain and just gets bounced out by his lineman. So it's like, in some ways, lucky. I don't know. I'm not there yet with Henderson.
Ain't no luck about 22 miles per hour.
No,
that's what I'm going to say.
Speed is real. And we knew,
the players, the ball carriers with a 22 that have hit 22 miles per hour this year are Brian Thomas Jr., Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jonathan Taylor, and now TreVeyon Henderson.
Yeah,
you know what? I want to buy on the talent, and the team is really good. The context is there. I just want to. It's so hard for me to trust Josh McDaniels' offense when it comes to like one running back within that offense.
Well, also, this. So here's the picture of the first one: the old bump and bounce. He bumps into his lineman and bounces outside and scores a touchdown. That's the second one. Here's a picture of the first one. Did Hunter Henry get away with a little holding there? Pretty close, but absolutely terrible defense by Tampa Bay. Yeah. They had no safety back there. I don't know what they were thinking. And then this hole opens up and he just runs right through it that was the 55-yard touchdown, I think. He is the second Patriots running back, I believe, to have 2 50-yard carries in a game. The other was Lawrence Maroney. And it's exciting. And also with TreVeyon Henderson playing and Ramondre Stevenson out, he's had 2 straight games with a 70% route participation rate, which is way up. And that's usually where Ramondre is at. My skepticism is, first of all, that second touchdown was a little bit lucky, but he's a playmaker, right? Like if he bounces to the outside, he's going to run 22 miles per hour and make something happen that other guys can't. But I don't know that they're going to trust him in between the tackles. This play was in between the tackles, right? This first touchdown run. Most of his good runs are outside. So right. I feel like TreVeyon will be the change, maybe the kind of change of pace guy. Ramondre could still be the lead back. I don't know. Like I said on yesterday's show, I really feel like he could be a league winner or one of the best sell highs. I just don't know what they're going to do here. And I don't know when Ramondre's coming back.
If you look at his schedule rest of season, depending on what app you use, it has green, red. They're literally all green matchups. Yep. It's Jets, Bengals, Giants, then bye, and then about like 2 potential shootouts against the Bills and the Ravens, and then the Jets again.
And the Bills have a terrible
sold. I'm back in.
Right? Like that's so nice.
Hey, that schedule is just too good.
I'd be really surprised if he goes away completely. Even if it is like the role you're talking about where it's like maybe 35-40% of the snaps or something like that. That's not ideal, but you still can probably flex him. And then if anything happens to Ramondre, like we've got this. I wanted to point out that he's playing well. He's playing better, I think, which is relevant because the increase in the workload has mostly been a product of teammate injuries. But weeks 1 through 7, he had a 15% avoided tackle rate. Over the past 3 weeks, I even removed the big runs just to like get just down to down. What are we looking at here? 29% avoided tackle rate, so that's almost double. And then he had 2.4 yards after contact per rush, weeks 1 through 7. The past 3 weeks, with those long runs removed, runs of 30 or more yards removed, still 3.22 yards after contact per rush, which is a really good number. So I do think he's playing a lot better. The vision is, I mean, if you watch his college tape, like he was doing this all the time, right? Just running into linemen and then bouncing it around. Like, right. The question was, can he do this against pros? Already, yes. Like the speed is very very, very real.
What would you rather have, Swift or Henderson rest of season?
It's a great question.
Yeah, I think I would choose Swift.
I would, before listening to this analysis from Jacob, choose Swift. I think now, listening to that schedule, man, like, I think I'm choosing Henderson. That's such a juicy schedule down the stretch run. And I've looked at Swift before this because I have him on one team. It's not a great schedule, I don't think, down the stretch run.
The chat says Henderson is a league winner. Isn't this hilarious though? Like 3 weeks ago, like I tweet out there every week. I tweet out like the rookies, like, here's every touch from this week, and you can follow and look at each week. 3 weeks ago, his video was 15 seconds long. Like that was every touch for that week, and everybody was just like, he's dead, he's done. Like, I'm so sick of this. Drop him. And now it's like, yep, he's the league winning rookie for sure.
Yeah,
that's all it takes. So Dan, I think people want your reaction to Daboll getting fired and Mike Kafka being named the head coach, or the interim head coach.
Yeah, I mean, it had to be done. I think Daboll's done a good job, better job than people realize, of getting Jackson Dart comfortable and giving him concepts. And even in some of these games, like winning the chess match last game against the Bears, he did a great job against Dennis Allen. But he's not a good coach. He's a very bad head coach in every other way and facet. He coaches scared. He's blown an insane amount of fourth quarter leads with the same script every time. It's short field goals in the red zone. It's punting on the opponent's side of the field. It's run, pass, and punt game script toward the end of games with leads. So he had to go. 2 collapses like the ones he had Denver and Chicago are more than enough. As far as Kafka goes, he'll get his little run. He's had multiple head coach interviews before this. I want to see what stamp he puts on the offense. We don't even know what the offense is going to look like. Like, Jackson Dart may not play. And I'll say this, Adam, now that he's gone, Brian Daboll, I hope Kafka is of the mindset of, if Jackson Dart can't play, if it's 1 or 2 week concussion, it's Jameis Winston time. We're not going back to Russ. It's Jameis Winston
for real.
Yep, I think please. Wilson is just not capable of moving.
He's done, dude. He's done.
Yeah, he is. All right. So if your team signs Russell Wilson next year to be their stopgap quarterback, sell everyone in fantasy on that team. What was the big disagreement on Zay Flowers?
Yeah, I've got some stats that I think will be interesting to people. And honestly, like, he looks very similar to Justin Jefferson. So I think that'll be a good segue here. So in games that Lamar Jackson has played, he's averaged 14 PPR points per game. That would be wide receiver 20. That's like right ahead of Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston. I think all these guys kind of fit into a similar range where they're wide receiver 2s that we know are really good players, and there's upside for more, but something about their role isn't quite locking it into that wide receiver 1 range. And for him, it is the lack of involvement in the red zone. 5.6% target per run rate in the red zone with Lamar this year, which is just way, way, way too low. So he has to score his touchdowns outside of the red zone, which he can do. He's actually had a number of plays already this year where he almost did, and he got brought down to the 1 yard line. We know he has the electric athleticism to get long plays and turn them into touchdowns. And Lamar can hit him in that intermediate range for these long plays. Overall, with Lamar Jackson, he has a 26% target share, which is actually down slightly from his number on the year, 29% on the year, 31% first read rate with Lamar, 34% rate overall on the year. That's higher than Rashee Rice. It's just below Justin Jefferson. So the volume is really, really good. With Lamar, he's averaged 2.52 yards per route run. So the volume is really good, and the player is really good. That would be wide receiver 3, just ahead of like Drake London and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those guys are at the 2.5 mark. And then you've got obviously Puka and JSN way above everybody else. So I think everything like sets up well in terms of the player. And then like when Lamar comes back, being able to potentially like multiply that into some big numbers, some really high efficiency and downfield success. We just need touchdowns. And I think the fact that they're facing the rest of the season schedule, to me, looks like one that could facilitate some of these broken plays and touchdowns. You never want to predict that, but it's like they've got the Jets. They've got 2 matchups against the Bengals. Those are 2 of the worst tackling teams in the NFL. So you could have long touchdowns there. And then week 16 and 17 are much better tackling teams, but they're both potential shootouts. It's the Patriots and the Packers. So like the worst case is that he just stays where he's at, which is fine. It's like a low end wide receiver 2. And he's been really surprisingly consistent in that role. And I think that's because of the massive volume. But then there is this upside that if he can score some touchdowns, get some long plays, everything there like is wide receiver 2, and then it can only elevate from there. So that's where I'm at with him. Is I think the price is going to be basically that wide receiver 2 range, but there is upside for him to pass that.
Yeah, that's a great way to break it down. The floor is what he's already doing. Why would it fall any further? And the ceiling, which you're not having to pay for, is still high. I don't want to say crazy high. It's hard to say that. He just doesn't have enough involvement in their red zone offense for that.
Yeah, but my optimism for Flowers, I'm going to give you his 17-game pace with Lamar Jackson this year, 6 games, compared to his 17-game pace last year if you remove Week 18 when he played 20% of the snaps. Last year, 121 targets. This year, 119. Last year, 78 catches. This year, 91. Last year, 1,112 yards. This year, 1,258. That is 13 more catches and about 140 more yards. Last year, 4 touchdowns. This year, 3. You talk about the terrible target route per route run rate in the red zone. Last year, he had 7 red zone, 6 green zone, 9 end zone targets. The end zone target number is actually not bad. The red zone, green zone is not good, but 7 red zone, 6 green zone, 9 end zone targets for Flowers last year. This year in 6 games with Lamar Jackson, he has 1 red zone, 1 green zone, 1 end zone target. So I think I would say even this participation level in the red zone, green zone, end zone is lower than I would expect it to be.
Sure.
And we've mentioned Zay Flowers on the Wednesday show as, not you guys, but Jamie, Heath, Dave, as a possible buy low. And I've been pretty skeptical. But now I actually think I'm in.
Yeah,
because he is so good. And I think eventually he's going to catch touchdowns. I said this yesterday. But it just, yeah, you guys said it right. I mean, he's not having a bad season with Lamar Jackson. He's usually getting you 12 or more PPR fantasy points. If he starts scoring some touchdowns, which he's capable of doing, then there are going to be some good weeks left. But, you don't want to pay up too much. But I think this might be the lowest of Zay Flowers' value all year.
The Ravens are tied with the Dolphins for 31st in offensive plays per game, too, which I think really has affected things here.
Wow. Correct.
All right, the real Luke. I don't think we're going to get to all of our topics unless we set like a time limit. So maybe we'll just try to do 3 or 4 minutes per topic.
Rapid fire it.
The real Luke says, buy or sell. Justin Jefferson is a top 24 wide receiver rest of the season.
2 quick stats. I already gave 32% target share with JJ McCarthy. He's only had 9.5 catchable expected fantasy points per game.
Wow.
Which puts him in the same range for the year as Zay Flowers, Ladd McConkey, Marvin Harrison Jr., Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf. Some guys who are really good players, but like the situation, something about it isn't quite right. So for them to climb above that, they have to be really, really good and just kind of run hot with variance. That's kind of weirdly, I think, where we're at with Justin Jefferson. I've had him like in that wide receiver 2 range in rest season rankings for a while now. I think that's basically where we're at.
Yeah, stats from Thomas Shaper. Producer Thomas coming in the clutch here. Here's Justin Jefferson's average receiving yards per game with every starting quarterback he's played with. Kirk Cousins, 98.9. Or with these starting quarterbacks. He's played with some other guys. Carson Wentz, 95.4. That was 5 games. 4 games with Cousins was the sample size. 90.2 yards per game with Sam Darnold. 17-game sample size. 52.3 with JJ McCarthy. And look, things are going to get better. There it is.
Blah, blah, blah.
Things are going to get better, but that's like half the receiving yards per game is every other one of those quarterbacks in smaller sample size, obviously. I mean, look, the yards will come up. The target share's there. Will the touchdowns be there? I mean, JJ McCarthy profiles to me rest of season as a maybe 1, 2, if you're lucky, passing touchdown kind of guy. Every week he'll run some in, obviously, but doesn't help Jefferson. So as far as like we're limiting him to the question, which is like a wide receiver 2, back end wide receiver 2, he should be able to fit into that range, right? Like,
of course.
Yeah. But as far as the hope of like, you may be trading a JSN for Jefferson as your main piece in return, as Adam suggested earlier. Just kidding. I know he also included Barkley in that. No, I'm out on that.
I would take him 100 times out of 100 over Zay Flowers.
I'd much rather Zay Flowers. Not much rather. I'd slightly rather Zay Flowers. Not much rather.
That's insane.
Is it?
Yes.
One has JJ McCarthy. The other has Lamar Jackson.
He just had 12 targets. I mean, look, obviously they threw a lot more than
12 really ugly targets. Like,
I'll make any bet with you for anything. I mean, like, I'll spot you 3 games in tennis if I lose. Like, there's no way
I would never need you to spot me games in
The
tennis.
second set was
Please back that up. That same.
Second set,
I will
this
never ever ask for you to be spotting me anything in tennis.
okay, because you're not going to get it because I will smash.
I don't
you
want
this.
it.
Let's hear from the chat. Who would you rather have, Jefferson or Flowers? You can just give us.
Probably Jefferson. Look, it's probably Jefferson.
It's gonna be Jefferson.
By the way, probably. It's not a guarantee. All right, we'll do some kind of fun bet. I mean, I don't even. The Flowers is like not a great guy to go with, but fine.
I think they're really similar. That's why I gave the expected fantasy points on catchable targets during the JJ McCarthy starts. It's 9.5. Flowers' rate on the year is 9.9. And then it's just like, what can you do beyond that? They're both really, really good players with the ball in their hands and at getting separation. I know, like, everybody's going to go Jefferson, but like, I don't know if people realize how good Flowers has been.
He's
really
not
developed.
Jefferson, though.
No, he's not. No, he's not. But Lamar Jackson is way, way, way better than JJ McCarthy.
He is. But no, I'm not going to shave my head. But
his wife's busy, too busy to shave his head.
Okay. That was funny.
Important.
What was I going to say? Can we maybe lighten up a little bit on JJ McCarthy? The guy has made 4 starts in his career.
I know.
I think it's possible he could get a little bit better before.
Yes, the Ravens defense has been coming along to some extent.
Oh, big time. That is a good defense. That is tough to pass against. All right, let's get to
our I got to look at the schedules to make that bet if I wanted to actually make that bet.
You know what? I don't have to look at the schedules because I'm so confident in that bet.
Okay.
All right.
Dinesh says, I need Dan in my fantasy league right now. Well, guess what, Dinesh? You probably don't want to be in too many of my leagues. CBS Sports leagues, I'm doing great in all of them. So you want to join us next year? Go join the FFT Open Schneider division where I'm in 1st or 2nd place. Come on. Come play. Come play, Dinesh. Come play.
Not only he's the plug god even for his own fantasy team.
No, Big Burger is going through a little rough stretch, though. I think I might lose again this week.
Ooh. Probably Troy Franklin over Justin Jefferson and Zay Flowers, right?
You want to go to Troy Franklin or Jerry Judy right now?
I definitely want to talk about
Troy Jefferson will probably outscore Flowers. I get it.
I do not want to talk about
Judy.
Justin
Jefferson. He's a phenomenal player, but like we know there's some reliance in fantasy on quarterback play. Otherwise, like why would Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride be so much better, specifically McBride, without Kyler Murray?
All right, I think we're done here. Let's go to Troy Franklin. And Nick Drum says, buy or sell Troy Franklin, who's coming off 5 catches for 40 yards and 1 touchdown on 9 targets.
The numbers on Troy Franklin and Cortland Sutton are crazy. 27% target share over the past month for Franklin compared to 19% for Cortland Sutton. 47% air yardage share for Franklin compared to 27% for Sutton. So that's crazy on its face, right? 47 to 27%. What's really even crazier than that is that Sutton has more catchable air yards than Franklin during that time. Franklin's just getting so many of these bombs from Knicks that amount to nothing. Leads the NFL in uncatchable air yards over the past month. So I did just want to start with the base level stats there, clearly favoring Franklin. If you take a little bit further and look at the first read targets, each of the past 4 games, Troy Franklin is at a higher first read target rate than Sutton. In fact, his lowest first read target rate over the past month in any game is higher than Sutton's highest first read target rate. So for whatever reason, they've shifted things where it's like Franklin is the top target on the team. It's by design. They get short stuff to him. They also take long shots to him. The result is 16 PPR points per game over the past month for Franklin compared to 11 for Sutton. So it's not good. It's all focused on Franklin, and it's not even actually. I mean, 16 is no joke, but like I don't know if we can count on it with Bo Nix playing the way that he is. And then the result is like, can you use any of these guys? Marvin Mims being out has definitely helped Troy Franklin. So when we get back to like kind of normal, if they're running it through Franklin, I don't know if I'm confident enough in the Knicks to Franklin connection to start him, even with this great usage. Whereas like with Sutton, I was confident, even though you knew it might be a little bit up and down with Knicks because he's so freaking good. He can just win these one-on-ones no matter who's on him, and he can go get the ball. So it's just weird right now. Like I don't want to start Sutton, and I don't really want to start Franklin unless I have to.
Yeah, I think part of it is like, but at least as far as the first read stuff goes, is they've had to change schematically what they're doing offensively due to Bo Nix's struggles. I think that's the only way to look at it, right? He was playing better football last year. They also had a lot of plays last year that were designed like deep over routes to Cortland Sutton where Nix would break pocket, bootleg out, and like hit those over routes. The only real time I ever really see Nix accurate is when he's on the move, which is a weird thing for a quarterback. It seems like when he's in the pocket, his feet are moving at all times, never set, and his accuracy is terrible. But when he's on the move and he doesn't have to actually set his feet, he can kind of all arm throw it. He seems to be more accurate. So they need to get back to doing like those route combinations with Sutton on the deep over and Nix just rolling out and hitting him. I don't really know what other ways to get him the football. He's not really operating any kind of drop back pass game where you can throw like timing routes, outbreakers, or deep routes with any kind of ball placement that would like lead to catches for Sutton. Right. I mean, like,
yeah, man, I don't want to talk about Nix. We do it all the time. People saw we got him on the Island game and people saw like
it was a bad Island game, man.
Abysmal.
If you watch that on Prime Vision, it was tough to watch.
Yeah, it's a shame. Would you rather have Sutton or Franklin rest of season?
I think Franklin, because they're going to scheme him more offense.
I'll
as
go
crazy
with
as it
Sutton.
sounds.
Yeah, you can't take Franklin. He hasn't been.
I don't really want either, so it's just like a whatever type of situation. At least I'll
You
get
know what
like
Sutton can
schemed
be.
offense for Franklin.
You know what Sutton can be. Franklin can't be that. There's no way Franklin has more upside. He might have a safer floor.
No, I didn't say he has more upside.
I know. So let's just take the upside.
All right, I guess I'll take the upside. But the problem is, at least with Franklin, I can bench him a lot of weeks because I'm not name branded into starting him. With Sutton, I might be like, I got to start Sutton again. This might be the week. Like, so in some ways, I'd rather Franklin just for that standpoint.
The role has been so ridiculously good for Franklin. It's like everything. It's deep targets. It's first read targets. When they get in the red zone, he has like one of the highest target shares of any freaking player in the league. Like,
Kevon said it best. Prefer Franklin because he's easier to bench. There we go. There we go. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Then why don't you take him over? Take him over Justin Jefferson. All right.
No, we're not going.
We're gonna skip Jerry Jeudy, but he's a good player. He finally had a good game, but we're just not really
sell any Dylan Gabriel receiver at any point for me.
Okay. Let's see.
Not gonna get the Jets defense every week.
I mean, I'll talk about Jeudy a lot on the show tomorrow in the waiver wire. Just the guy that we were drafting in the 7th round finally had a good game. I think it's at least worth considering here. And Njoku's not as involved as he was. His route participation rate's been down. All right, this is from Canada Jim. Buy or sell? There is not a. We have 3 minutes left.
Buy or
guys.
sell Canada? Sell.
I have to go
just kidding. Just joking.
I don't know. It's not even a good joke. I have to go through with Jamie. So I got 3 to 4 minutes left. Buy or sell? There's not a single quarterback worth drafting in the top 50 overall next season.
Sell. If Patrick Mahomes has 23 fantasy points per game and 4-point passing touchdown leagues, that's the only quarterback ahead of Josh Allen, Lamar, and Hurts. So like we were 3 for 4 on the elite quarterbacks this year. That's a really good hit rate. That's why you've taken a shot on these quarterbacks, is because they historically have a really good hit rate. There have been some higher upside hits in that round 3-4 range. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jonathan Taylor, if you got him in round 3. But there have been a ton of misses too. Chase Brown, AJ Brown, Amari Hampton, Terry McLaurin, George Kittle, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kenneth Walker, even like Ladd McConkey, T. Higgins have been up and down.
Yeah.
Totally. The only real difference is there's way more quarterbacks scoring 20 plus points per game this year, which maybe you could predict that. Like we were there on Drake May, but some of them are kind of random. Matthew Stafford has an 8% touchdown rate. Only Lamar Jackson had a higher rate last year. His career rate with the Rams is 5%. So like that's including this year's. He's on pace. Matthew Stafford's on pace for 47 passing touchdowns over 17 games. Like, I think some of this has to probably pull back a little bit. Even Drake May, 6.6% passing touchdown rate. The only guys that hit that rate last year were Lamar, Baker, Jared Goff, and Joe Burrow. So like maybe he sustains that. Justin Herbert is another guy who's averaging 20 plus. He's on pace for 709 dropbacks compared to 573 last year, 517 in 2023. Herbert already has more rushing yards this year than he has in any season. So to me, like a lot of these have been kind of random. And I do think that like you're probably safest sticking with that quarterback in the round 3-4 range, even if it maybe isn't the highest upside path. Because there were a lot of busts in that range this year.
Yeah. Quarterbacks are safe.
Also, sorry, go ahead, Adam.
No, just go ahead. There
just were also some obvious hits though that we were targeting later, Jacob. Like
Davis Mills. Davis Mills was QB1 this week.
Well, yeah, there's that. But Drake May was like a glaring value that was so obvious, and there's just going to be that every year. So it depends what league you play in. If you play in auction leagues, I think it's a lot different than playing in a snake draft where you can't just sit and wait to get if you know Drake May is like an obvious value, you can't really get him unless, I mean, you can, but
That was our plan this year, was like, you can just get Drake May. But what if you
Right.
don't get Drake May? If somebody reaches for him around 9, then we're like, okay, well, then
that's
you
what
go,
I mean. That's why you got to play in auction leagues.
then you go with JJ McCarthy, and that didn't work out at all, you know?
No,
Or
I
like
was not
for
McCarthy.
you, it's like go with Trevor Lawrence or
Yeah,
Stroud or
wrong,
whatever. It's like,
wrong,
that didn't
too.
work out at all.
Wrong. You're right.
I think it's a lot of hubris to just assume that like you're going to hit the 3rd round wide receiver and you're going to get the quarterback and it's going to be the right one. Whereas
Yeah.
like you can just
That's
grab
fair.
the 3rd round quarterback and it's probably going to hit, is where we're at with these guys.
Good point.
Last thing, just taking a look at the amount of quarterbacks who are averaging 22 or more fantasy points per game in 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. Jacob talked about 4-point. 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. How many are averaging 22 or more per game? And that would be 12 right now.
Jeez.
That's a lot, but it's not a lot compared to, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 years ago. So I looked at the last decade of how many quarterbacks averaged 22 points per game from weeks 1 through 10. Remember, it's 12 this year. So beginning in 2015, here are the amount of quarterbacks, again, 22 points per game or more from weeks 1 through 10. In 2015, 11, then 12, 7, 15, 8, 16, 12. But the last 3 years, only 8, 8, and 5. That was 2022, 2023, and 4. 8, 8, and 5 quarterbacks have hit 22 or more per game, weeks 1 through 10. This year, 12. Then I looked, how about at the end of the season? And in the previous 10 years, there's been a decrease of, quarterbacks who are averaging 22 or more fantasy points per game 6 times. 1 time it was the same. 3 times there was an increase of +1, +2, and +4. There have been 2 years there have been -6, or like 1 year -6. In 1 year -6, 1 year -4, -3, -3. It's more likely, I think, based on the last decade, to have a decrease in quarterback production over the next half of the season than an increase. Maybe that's because of weather at the end of the year. I think that could be part of it.
Yep.
But also this year was another year where they probably, I haven't seen average field position, but they did something to increase offense. So I'm not all that surprised with the new kickoff rules that we just have more points. But quarterbacks are just having a huge year this year. It's an amazing season for quarterbacks. All right, I have to go. I'm sorry. Thank you very much to Dan and Jacob.
One interesting news, Joe Burrow will return to practice day in a limited capacity. Wow.
Yes, he did. That is huge. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow with the Waiver Wire. Subscribe to the Beyond the Box Score feed and get all their great content. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. See ya.